Hello, and welcome to a paragliding coaching time. This is a random session on YouTube. I just thought I would pop in and say hi to whoever's online and answer your questions about paragliding, whatever is on your mind. I'll run this session for as long as it's active. And I'm just playing around with a new setup here, so bear with me while I learn where your comments are popping up and what's happening. But this is some nostalgic footage, just looking back earlier this year, flying somewhere. It's not the South Downs, it's Austria. So this is Greifenberg. It's a beautiful sight. And wow, what an area to fly in. And what super conditions. Crispy early in the year and such lovely cumulus. It's great to fly in this sort of stuff. Just absolutely classic. It's kind of what paragliders are made for, these sort of conditions. And when you got this contrast between snow and rock, it's always going to trigger thermals because you've got really nice heating and clouds at the top. And it's just fantastic to fly in. Also, light winds make it a lot easier to navigate this kind of terrain. But you can see there's some sort of wind coming from the right of this picture, by the way the clouds are shaped and tilted over to the side. Hello, it is I. Let's get some cinematic action. That's the best part. So just give me a little bit of time to get used to this platform. If you are in the live stream, please drop a comment. I just need to see if it's linked up here. I'm using StreamYard, which is a new package for me. And I'm just wanting to see if I can run this easily on YouTube. I'm actually not sure where this video is popping up. Gillett, hello. That's brilliant. Okay, fantastic. So I've got your comment. And I can even pop it up on the screen. That's lovely. Hi, Paranoia. Good to see you from Norway. So this is kind of familiar scenery for you in Norway. In the South Downs in England, we don't normally have this kind of snow. And in South Africa, this is a very, very rare thing for me to find. So I'm just amazed when I get into this kind of terrain and I've got the opportunity to fly over this kind of world. I mean, this is just heaven for me, like being here. This is so cool. Absolutely love it. So welcome to the new live stream studio. Some of my members are used to this place, but it's a new camera setup and new live streaming software, so it's all pretty good. And I can pop up. Hi, Rory. Good to see you from Italy. And Michael Galiska. Good to see you. And Rajath, Bangalore, India. Welcome. So that's not a picture of Bangalore, India right now. I haven't flown in India yet, so I'm looking forward to coming and visiting at some point. Everybody's been having big flying in beer, along with the epic thunderstorm action that we all heard about, with Ben Lewis getting sucked into cumulonimbus cloud and going up to some ridiculous altitude. So you got to be careful when you're flying in big mountains. And I'm always looking at the top of clouds and making sure that nothing in my whole area where I'm flying, you just keep a scan around like this. While you're flying, you're getting that view. And I'm looking at the tops to make sure that there's nothing that's punching through. And that will indicate that the air mass is unstable. And if it's unstable over there, it's likely to be unstable over there and unstable over there, that whole area. Maybe not right up above where I am, but you can certainly scan all the time and get a picture of what the lapse rate is. As soon as you get a punch of cloud that's going way up into the sky, then you must be aware that that is possible anywhere in your region. And it's just to do with how much heating is coming underneath and how much moisture is in that area to feed the cloud. The combination of those two can create a sky bomb. So watch out for that. Thanks, Rajath. I would love to come to Beer. It looks amazing. And it's just a matter of finding time to do all of these things and visit all these places. You know, being close to the Alps means that there's so many options that are close, and it's always difficult to make that choice when you've got a flight, you know, for £100 or so on EasyJet anywhere in the Alps. So I tend to get drawn back to this kind of terrain. I could go to Grafenberg every single year. It's just, what a playground. Really good. Super Dave Danger, thanks from Vancouver. Good to see you. Another place that I have to come and visit. And you guys are used to more snow than me as well. So you're used to flying in this big stuff. Carl, how's it from Port Elizabeth? How's it going? You getting into summertime now and having some good flying, I'm sure. You're getting some proper thermals. You guys have stolen all the good stuff from us up north. I will be coming to South Africa next year. So should be flying around, getting some XC in. I'll be down in Cape Town. So I look forward to seeing my South African friends and getting some proper thermals and kind of recovering from the winter blues. There's definitely something that's noticeable in the UK that you run out of sunlight. You know, there's only so much sitting in a studio light that you can do. So I always try and get somewhere south during the winter just to top up the vitamin D levels and fill my camera with all sorts of good footage to share with you guys. Rajath, you were saying about flying in England. Yeah, it's unfortunately it's very difficult for me to say like when would be a good time to come and visit England, because it's so on and off. The conditions are, you know, we have good flying. Like when it's on, it's lovely, and you see many of my videos like just thermaling around and there's landing everywhere, so there's no stress. But you know, guys are always asking me like, oh, when can we come, or can we come for a tour? Like, do you run tours and do you like training courses? And the problem is, it's just because it's got the sea on three sides basically. The flying area is always affected by weather coming in from the sea, and the weather changes very quickly. So you get very good at kind of dropping everything and driving 200 kilometers to go to the hill where it's working. But you know, to bring a group over and to come and invite people to come and fly for a week, the chances of it working are very slim. So we don't have any competitions in the UK apart from the hike and fly. They've learned over years of bitter experience that it's not worth it. It's better to make a competition in, you know, Gers or Saint Andre or somewhere overseas in Europe. You've got a better chance of getting good flying. Hi, Tin Music. Good to see you. Paul Skywalker. Hello. Message. How do you still fly your advance, or you got a new wing? Um, no, this glider is in the cupboard at the moment, and this harness as well. If anybody wants a weightless harness, then get hold of me. Greg at flywithgreg.com. I'll give it to you. I give you a good price. I give you a good price. Yeah, I'm terrible with selling equipment, so I just put it just in a box and then fly the new thing because it's amazing. So I've still got the weightless harness, pretty good condition, but I'm flying the Air Design SOC SL now. So yeah, I just preferred the SOC harness. Found the weightless is okay, but there's some things about the design that I think really could be improved. I don't really like this whole bib thing with the way the instruments end up like sticking out from the little tiny instrument panel, and just generally didn't feel as balanced and as comfortable as I am in the SOC SL. So happy with the Air Design one. And the wing, I've still got it. Won't be selling that because this dear beautiful wing has got porosity levels down to, I don't know, 7, 8, 6 seconds in places along the leading edge, 5 in places. Just on the one panel of the one kind of fabric, but they're fairly big areas that have got very low porosity readings now. Having said that, I mean, it's beautiful. It still flies beautifully. I can test the stall point and it's no worries. So when do you retire an old wing? It's a difficult problem. You know, I've done the trim checking. Everything's good. I've done the porosity readings. But the porosity is a gray area. It's like at some point the wing gets so old that it then breaks away, and then you've got a stall which won't recover nicely. So you don't want to get into that place. And even soaring on the coast, if you've got a wing that maybe is porous, you might think, it's only safe conditions and everything, and then a tandem comes in front of you and you go through the wake and it's enough to drop it into the parachutal phase. And then the glider doesn't recover because the porosity is bad and it's broken aerofoil not working. And then it, dives back and dives forward. So, long story short, I think my Omega X Alps is on its last legs and will probably just be in some ground handling videos and maybe flying a little bit more in smooth conditions where I've got a lot of terrain clearance. But yeah, I'm flying the Air Design Volt, which is great and very easy, and by comparison, less work. This isn't a very difficult glider to fly. I mean, you can see it's super steady. It's a beautiful D wing, but it definitely is a D wing compared to the Volt 5, which is a C wing, and is just requires less attention. You can just kind of cruise along, which suits me fine. It gives me time to take the GoPro out and film things for you guys. Cool. Michael Galiska, you're asking about what about reflex aerofoil on free-flying wings, like the new BGT Base 3? Okay, I will try and see if we can do some magic here. And let's see if we can. I'm just going to try and pull up the BGD site. Let's see if I can pop it up there. So we've got that wing. So I'm not seeing reflex, true full reflex on that. on anything in the aerofoil there. So it's not. I'm just trying to see if it's got anything that it is crowing about Reflex. Tech 2.5 liner. So they're saying it has a reflex profile. It does. It's very, very slight. If you look at that there, it's very, very, very slight. But you know, what I'm looking at is the top surface is pretty much straight. You know, it's pretty much flat, and the reflex curves up at the back, which gives you some resistance on the top surface as the glider pitches forward. The airflow is actually pushing on the rear part of the glider. So, you know, the reflexes that you see in free-flying wings are very, very subtle and very, very slight. And they don't have as much of an effect as a paramotor wing, where you release the trimmers and you get this ducktail basically going up at the top, which is phenomenally stable, but doesn't have very good performance. So on a paraglider wing, they usually try and soften that out, which means that you don't really have much of the benefit of the reflex. It's just a slightly different feeling on the wing the more they do that. It tends to be more a wing that you would just fly hands up and not put a little bit of brake on, because it's quite a knock. You can feel it when you go from a reflex wing to that little bit of brake. There's like a definite kick on the brakes as you take out the reflex out of the wing. And that first little bit of taking the reflex out can be the bit that makes the reflex wing unstable. It compromises that reflex. So it takes a bit of time getting used to flying a wing like that, where which little pitches do you catch? You don't catch the minor ones, but the bigger ones you've got to definitely catch. You can't just fly a wing like hands up all the time through big turbulence. You need to be active flying. So it takes a little bit more pilot demands, I think, flying that sort of a wing. It's counterintuitive, or maybe not what you expect, because you're getting the wing for super stability. But then it changes your active flying a little bit. Like there's that delay that I don't need to do anything. I don't need to do anything. Oh, I need to catch that one. So it just takes a bit of time to adjust. But they definitely have an advantage in just bullying through rough air. So that's the advantage of having a reflex. Depends how they design it into the wing. It can sometimes make the handling a bit more heavy when you're turning, and the agility is a little bit harder to bring around. So it depends how they integrate it into the glider. But you know, I wouldn't say like I only want a reflex wing, it's better than everything else, or I don't want one. I would try and get a test flight on a glider and see how does it feel in the air, and how has that reflex been put in there. It's the same as this 2.5 liner tech that they're talking about, which is, I'm expecting like the other gliders that have done it, where they've got two lines going up to the tip area before they fan out, and three lines in the center. And that's just a way of reducing the amount of line that you use. And it doesn't really have any piloting benefit. It just means that the feeling is different. Hope that answers your question. Okay, Sarath, what A+ wing would you recommend? Wow. It's been a while since I've flown an A plus wing, but I'm guessing this if you're looking at your first glider, um, the Advance Alpha is always a winner. I really like the Alpha series, so that's something to look at. The Symphonia from Fee is also very good, and that's probably like more performance A. That's got high performance. Um, that would work. Nova Aonic. They've got an Aonic, which is very nice. Any one of those. And I wouldn't be too worried about getting the perfect A plus wing. I would definitely at that point look at the price, see what you can get, and you're looking for something that's going to give you a lot of airtime. Don't get an old wing. You're buying airtime basically, so you're trying to see a price that gives you very low hours on the glider for a low price. The most of the progression that you're going to make is about developing skills at that level. And every time that you learn something new, you improve your turn technique or you work out where to find the lift on the ridge, you get a big jump in performance. Whereas the gliders in that class are very, very similar in performance and safety. And get something that you like and that's available. Always support your school that you learned from or a company that you would like to support that long term you want to see them stay in business. It's more about the service and the support that you can get than any particular brand. They're all great. The new A plus wings are unbelievable what you can do on them. So just find something that you like and go and have fun. Let's get back to some Alps backgrounds. Okay. Here in the clouds, you're asking about, did I ever do towing? What's your thoughts on getting into the air? Okay, yeah, I've done towing. We did this quite a lot in South Africa when we were trying to do record flights. So it's typically because if you went onto the mountains, it would just be completely blown out and it wasn't safe because we were trying to fly in such strong winds, 40 kilometers an hour base wind, pretty normal. And then we would be on the runway and just pay out winch. So you'd basically stay in one place and just the tow would let you out. And then you ping off and go and find thermals. If you're in an area that you need it, then you need it. I certainly wouldn't like go and seek out towing. I don't like the feeling of being tied on. And in strong thermic conditions, when you're doing sort of record flying type flying, yeah, it feels a little bit risky, especially low level. If you have any collapses or big surges or big thermals coming through, you feel like you're tied on. It does get better with practice, but I still feel like I'm much more comfortable being on a mountain hill environment where I can be a self-sufficient aircraft. I think it's just a feeling of achievement of having your own aircraft and that feeling of leaving the ground. I just love. So I suppose that's kept me away from towing. And also with towing, I always ended up being the guy on the tow because I was the most experienced pilot and I owned the winch. So then I would end up operating the winch, and that's pretty stressful. It's stressful and you don't get to fly. So it's simpler for me to just avoid the winch environment and then I can go off on my own and enjoy my flying. But sure, if you're in a place that needs it, by all means, there are fantastic winch systems now, pretty expensive but very professional, and they can get you into the air very easily, but you do need a whole club to support that kind of environment, so that there's people that take turns in the winch and people that are there to help. So it's a particular kind of flying offshoot that I don't really do much myself. Fabio, hello. You're asking first flight next week from Lago Maggiore, Italy, with paraglider. Only experience I have is on 747. You're used to a lot more altitude. You're going to be close to the ground. Any advice on the learning process? Um, so the learning process is never ending, but I'm sure you have that on the 747 as well. There's always stuff to learn about flying. You've got amazing transferable skills. So you've got everything about understanding airspace and the principles of flying. But there's a lot to learn about micro met, the effects of local wind flows, because the paraglider basically doesn't have any forward speed. That's what you're going to find out. You have to be very, very careful that you're flying it in a very particular type of weather that isn't going to change. And in the Alps, flying, you've got valley winds that come through in the afternoon. There's a certain time every day. It's a kind of mechanical system, but you can very quickly run out of speed on the paraglider and not have the ability to fly to where you want to. So it's a lot more about forward thinking, planning ahead, so that you have a flight plan where you're going to land, but you're always thinking like, where else can I land if things change? And that's maybe different to 747 flying, where you've got a runway, you've got to land on the runway, and you've got an engine that can override any kind of weather that you have, and it's just a matter of getting there. Whereas in paraglider, you're constantly doing option A, option B, landing field, alternative, and you're kind of moving around the sky like that. As for the learning process, I would recommend that you come and join me in my academy. I've got an online learning academy with everything in the entire progression, from laying out your glider and learning how to do ground handling and connecting your risers on the right way. Level by level by level, you can progress up through all the thermaling skills, SIV training, cross-country flying. So there's a nice progression there, and you can plug in at whatever level you're at and just tick your way through the video courses and build up skills while you're doing your training and when you're progressing afterwards. That's probably the best way to support your training, whichever school you go to, so that you have a steady progression and you're not missing out pieces. I think that's often what happens with pilots, is you get an awesome paragliding school, but you're only there for 20 days and they can't possibly teach you everything. And then you go out and you kind of pick bits of knowledge here and there from YouTube, and then there may be gaps where you just never thought you needed to know about this thing until you were in the situation. And that's kind of what I've been doing the last 4 years online with my online academy, is preparing all the pilots for all these various situations, so you get to think them through, look at this options, and start developing good habits and strategies for coping with things that go wrong before they go wrong. That's what it's all about. Cool. Okay. Jeff, hello, in Colombia. How are you doing? You're probably getting ready for running some trips. Jeff is running Colombia guiding trips with Paul Takach. And I don't know if you're already running a trip, Jeff. Do let me know. But I'm sure the weather is awesome there. And you're probably full of pilots, being that it's the right time of year to get there. If you haven't gone to Colombia, get on a plane. Oh, hello. You say you live at nearby to Emberger Arm and fly the site often. Um, you remember Devil's Dyke without paragliders. Well, That's a long time ago. Paragliding's been going for 30 plus years, something like that. But yeah, the hang gliders flew just from the end of the Devil's Dyke Ridge was where hang gliding started. I think either at Truly Hill or Ditchling Beacon. I think there's two sites there. That's where hang gliding started, and then the paragliders took over. There is a lot more paragliding happening at Devil's Dyke since you left. Definitely, it's a bit of a problem because it's the only place in the area that is so easily accessible and is lovely to fly. There are a couple of other options nearby, but everybody goes to Devil's Dyke, and then you have 50 paragliders trying to avoid each other, which can become a bit of a challenge. But it's a beautiful place. It's still lovely, and we're very privileged to be able to fly there. Moody, you're asking about Tenerife. Any recommendations? I haven't flown there, Moody. There are many guiding places, operations in Tenerife. And you could try, if you need some contacts, you could try Daniel Crespo. I think he's called Fly Tenerife. I can't remember his site, but if you just search Daniel Crespo Tenerife, it should pop up. He's always sending pictures of flying his tandems over this beautiful sea and flying his motor trike, and he's active on the island, so you could contact him and he could give you some contacts if he doesn't want to run touring guiding himself. Cool. Thanks, Cecile. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Maybe it's Kikele, but forgive me. I don't know how to pronounce your name properly, but thanks. You're welcome. I'm happy to share. While I've got things to share and it helps everybody progress more safely in the sport, then it gives me a lot of satisfaction because everybody's enjoying the sky and having fun. Because this sport is amazing, but it does have its dark side. So I'm fighting against the dark side. Try and improve everybody's knowledge and fit in pieces where the gaps. And I do what I can. I'm very, very privileged to be supported by an amazing group of pilots who are members in my academy, and that allows me to do this full time. So thank you guys. And thank you guys on YouTube for being an audience and being interested and watching my videos, giving me the occasional, where's the button? Give me occasional thumbs up down there. No, don't do that. The thumbs up down there. That all helps. Share the videos on YouTube, and I will keep making them. I've got lots of footage, and I just have limited time. Like it takes so long to make these videos, especially the instructional ones where they're teaching. It's got to be all correct, and I've got to make sure there's no confusing elements. So I work over it. Takes a long time. And I also enjoy making the story ones for YouTube, which take an immense amount of time, like the competition reports and things like that. So, but it's all good. It means that I can be in the flying world even when it's not flyable. So I'm very happy to be here, and happy to answer your questions if you've got them. I'm just looking through some more questions here, and feel free to drop them in. And I'm going to be going for another few minutes. Thanks for the link there, Paranoia, Sky of Tenerife, Ojo Volador. That's Daniel Crespo. But I don't know if he does guiding, but he can certainly give you some information about who to contact. Stefan Weiss, you're asking, beside the weight, are there any benefits of light gliders compared to their regular counterparts? So yeah, it depends on how light you're talking about with light gliders. There are some extremely light gliders, and they are designed for just kind of hike and fly. And there the benefit is clear. If I'm going to hike up a 3,000-meter mountain, I really want to have nothing on my back. So it depends on the scale of your ambitions in the mountains and what kind of mountains you've got and your physical fitness, as to how light you really want to go. There definitely is an impact on the longevity of the glider. Like, as I said, my Omega X Alps, maybe 300 hours, not much life left in it. And I'm used to gliders lasting longer than that, particularly for pilots that are comfortable using the last piece of the porosity scale. I would expect a normal, a standard glider, you'd be able to push it past 500 hours. The lightweight glider, 300 hours is starting to get a bit too much. And it's each manufacturer will have a slightly different longevity on the glider, but they all change the fabrics at different times. There's different fabrics coming out. Basically, I mean, on this Omega, the one band of fabric is 6 seconds, as I said, and the other band of fabric that is the same weight, grammage, is like 50 seconds, 50, 60 seconds. So they've aged very differently. They look very similar. And when you buy the glider, it's got some fabric specs. You can't really tell when you're buying the glider how long that's actually going to last. There also sometimes are different batches of the fabric where they age differently, and the glider gets into different environments. Maybe some prefer to be kept cool and don't like the heat so much, and other ones just really get abraded with fine dust, turkey, and others really don't like sand. So it's very difficult to say, oh, that glider is made of this fabric, so it's only going to last that long. But as a general rule, a lightweight glider, I'm finding 300 hours, and a standard weight 500 hours. So you've got to look at the price, which is very similar, and think, how much are you paying per hour of airtime? You're paying a premium for the lightweight glider. You get the benefit back whenever you walk. So I'm pretty much stuck on lightweight gliders because I'm lazy and I love exploring. So I love just going and having the freedom of not thinking, oh, I've got such a heavy bag, I've got to follow the road and stay by civilization. I really like the idea of just going, I've got a light glider, I'm going to fly over there and just see what's there and walk back. So I'm kind of stuck with the lightweight handicap. But if you want top performance, I think the standard weight glider keeps its performance for longer. They might be very similar when they start, but after 200 hours, the lightweight glider's not quite as good because they tend to deform slightly more. They've got less reinforcing inside them, less structure, and the wear just affects them more. So it's more about thinking about your overall performance for the whole life of the glider and how important that is to you, and the comfort of having a small pack volume. They really pack down a lot smaller than a standard weight glider, and the weight on your back. In the sky, flying wise, very, very slight difference. I mean, if I had my eyes closed and you just switch the gliders over from the main fabric to the light fabric, I'm going to say I would be able to feel it. The light fabric glider usually is a little bit more flexy, a little bit more rustly, a little lighter, and it comes out from collapse movements a little bit quicker, but it also has a tendency to flutter more and have the small collapses more. This is very, very slight. It's a small character change that you can probably discern, but so what? You adjust to the glider. I don't think it's a better or worse. I think the two have slightly different feelings, but they both work beautifully in the air, and you can get a good flight out of either. So I'm definitely not choosing light because of some idea that it's going to come out of collapses quicker and therefore it's safer. That doesn't really motivate me to buy the glider. It's more, does it feel nice? Does it turn nicely? And that's going to be totally up to the glider in question. Some of them, the heavyweight fabric is more cohesive and feels nicer, and some of them, the lightweight glider is lighter and easier to launch. So there's pros and cons to both. Hope that long answer has answered your question, Stefan. Okay. Cool. Last few questions before I've got to go. Thanks, Fabio. Appreciate it. You're welcome. And Otter, you're asking any hints on better feeling for upcoming collapses? I had a Mentor 7 giving me a few surprising collapses. Found even low beta Keeler 5 giving clearer feedback that problems are coming. Okay, so this is to do with gliders that are more cohesive at the front, more rigid, more reinforced, where the loading is maybe slightly further back and the front section of the glider is slightly more tensioned, so it stays together a little bit longer and doesn't give you as much feedback. So some wings don't tell you much about what's ahead of the leading edge as you're flying around, and other wings, when you're flying them, you can feel the character of the air is a little bit more lumpy or undulating. You can start to feel that on the gliders that have got higher feedback, definitely give you that information, and the gliders that are more stable will take that out. Which one do you want? I don't know. It depends. Sometimes I really enjoy flying a glider that has quite calm, solid, stable feeling to it. And I think as you become more experienced and you get more sensitivity, you go through a kind of a curve where in the beginning you want a glider with more feeling and more feedback because you've got the ability to process this information, and you want it dialed up so that you can really feel everything. And then you get more and more experience, and you're able to sense the same stuff with less reaction from the glider. And I think I noticed this particularly when I started flying tandems, and I flew more and more tandems. You start being able to sense on a tandem glider even that feeling. Now the tandem is incredibly stable, but you can still feel the character of the air, and you can thermal very well on a tandem glider once you've tuned in that part of your brain that can feel the air. And then I actually like a glider that's more stable and calm. So I'm really enjoying the Volt 5, which is like totally for active flying. You don't really need to do much at all. It just kind of cruises around because it isn't particularly high feedback. But that actually suits me now because I can feel enough even with it quietened down on the leading edge. So that's a bit about the feedback of what you're getting with a glider that's more stable. You have to start feeling a little bit more. The information is there. It's not completely dead because the glider is moving through the air. It definitely is. There is some feedback, but you're just going to have to listen to it more carefully. What can help is to really get good at relaxing your body. The more tense you are, the more you sit upright in turbulent conditions, the more the glider will tend to throw you left and right as you come through lift because you tensed up. So there's nothing there that's absorbing that energy. And you get moved like this, and then you start getting bigger movements, and then you can actually get more collapses because you tensed up. So being relaxed allows you to kind of like flow through the air in your harness, just like, and that helps remove some of those collapses that you're getting. And it also helps you build up this feeling of what the air is doing ahead, because you're now flowing with it instead of trying to like stay stable. So that can help you anticipating collapses, because now you can really feel like, oh, I'm going up through something and it's going to dive forward. And usually that's where the collapses happen. I mean, sometimes there are collapses that just come out of the blue. You know, you're flying along and it just smashes you in the face. That is usually sheer turbulence, and that's very difficult to predict. But probably 70% of the collapses that I've seen paragliders have are when pilots go through that gust, lift, and then whoop, the glider goes forward and nothing happens on the brakes. Just the timing's not there. It's a bit like, am I doing something? Boof, and the glider's gone in. So that's what you're trying to feel for, is that feeling of like, when you slow down, the GPS is dropped from like 35 to like 20. You're in a gust. The glider is slightly behind you. The active flying input has to come. It's going to go forward and you catch it. And at that point, if you do that all the time, it removes a big portion of the collapses. And if you do that thing of being flexible in the harness, it removes a lot of the other problems. And then you're left with the question of, is the Mentor 7 really giving you more collapses? Not too sure. It's a very stable wing, and I certainly didn't feel like it has any particular nastiness tendency to collapse. It's certainly quite a solid wing. So hopefully that helps you. Try that when you're flying next time and see if it improves the situation. Okay. Cool. Last questions, guys. I've got to run. It is supper time, so I will see you very, very soon. And thank you for your attention. We will finish off with Stefan's question. Flying for 3 years now, how can I be so afraid and at the same time love it so much? Welcome to paragliding. Okay, it's a funny sport. It's a very strange sport. I wouldn't say that when I fly, I don't have a sort of lingering fear and dread that's there all the time. But there are certainly moments, situations in flights and situations in flying where I'm scared. I've realized like, oh, I've made a mistake. I've misread it. The wind's picked up. It's really turbulent. And the enjoyable, I suppose, thing about piloting is learning to deal with that fear and put it to one side while you manage the situation. I think that's it's quite a challenge, and it's quite satisfying to be able to do that. And that is the pilot mind, the ability to have a situation, realize, look, I'm scared, but I'm going to manage the situation. I'm going to act on it. I'm going to focus on the solutions, and not on the fear and the problem. And that takes some time to get used to that thinking and the ability to shift from fear to solution. But if you're always looking for the solutions, you're thinking, okay, oh, I'm scared, I'm getting blown over, it's the wind's too strong. If you focus on the wind's too strong, what's going to happen? I'm going to crash, things are going to go bad. You're drawn down the path of failure. And it's very easy for our brains to do that. And you've got to develop the strength of mind, thinking patterns that, like, yes, there's a risk and there's a danger, but I'm going to focus on the solutions and see the path to success. Even if it didn't actually work out that way and you ended up in the tree, you were focusing on getting out of the situation until the last moment where you went into the tree. And that allows you to stay active and make conscious choices rather than get into the panic. It's like immediately, okay, it's a bad situation. What can we do to solve this? Where are the pathways to success, and just following those. And that can help deal with the fear that you acknowledge it, but you go for solutions and develop more and more solutions for every situation that you fear. And that can slowly over time build your confidence because you've developed an action plan, you've got tools in your toolkit. You know that if you're going towards the clouds, you're on big ears and speed bar, you're going to get away. If the wind's strong, you've got a kill technique for landing in strong wind. All of these things just build your confidence. So work on the techniques, work on the skill sets, and again, have a look at my website and the academy if you want to build skills and build techniques that will build your confidence, that will remove the fear from some of the sport. I won't say you can remove all of the fear. It's definitely there, and I think it's very healthy. It keeps you aware that what we're doing has super big consequences if we get it wrong. So you do have to have that little fear that's there to sharpen your brain and say, focus. Don't just have a jolly and jump off the hill and things will be okay. It's checking all your equipment, doing your pre-flight checks, making sure that you've got alternative landings, you've checked the weather, you've got a plan. And that way it helps remove most of the fear, and what's left is the happy buzz of surviving another ridiculous flight from a mountain with a piece of cloth and landing in a field. So I wish you guys many happy flights. I hope some of you guys are getting flying through the European winter. Beautiful flights over the snow. Otherwise, to my friends in South Africa, go big or go home. Looking forward to seeing some more tracks like Barry Pedersen from Birdmen, who just blazed 180 plus from Porterville, and I'm very jealous. So I'm looking forward to getting there, and have safe flying wherever you are in the world, guys. Thank you for your support. Nice to see you all. And I will send out a notification next time there's a live stream on YouTube. Please pop over to my website, join the mailing list. It's free. And then I will send out notifications there and let you know when these sort of things are happening. Be good to stay in contact and keep you updated. Otherwise, safe flying and have a good weekend. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you soon.